would start with a Sanskrit shloka, which I have got it in English for you. I am a girl of the modern times. I am not feeble or powerless. I am Adhishakti. I am Ambika. Also, I am happy to be in a city which has the statue of the fearless girl. And I think that is what Me Too is aiming at, to make each and every one of us fearless, safe in our workplace. You know, my message from this place, from SIPA, Columbia University, to all the Me Too warriors, I call them warriors, not survivors, that you are not a victim for sharing your story. In fact, you are a survivor setting the world on fire with your truth. I call them Me Too warriors because these are the brave hearts which are going to make the workplace safe for all you young girls when you graduate and look for a job. Me Too may have started in the US, but India, it gathered momentum because the women there have been oppressed for too long. The women there knew there was no law in place. The CAG talked of Nirbhaya. It was only in 2013 that the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 was put in place, which got offenses like voyeurism, stalking. They were made offenses. Acid attack, it was made a cognizable, non-bailable offense. Before that, even a country like Bangladesh had acid attack, death penalty for acid attack, but in India, it was taken as a simple nominal crime. So what I'm trying to say, that laws, Ms. Sahay put up a very valid question, that what about the judiciary? I think I would like to say, I was in the civil services, I quit the government because I felt I needed to be a lawyer to stand for the common man. And I had faith in judiciary, and I'm hopeful that judicial reforms will come. We have Mr. Ahluwalia, Mr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia. You remember you got something like Bimaru. I think it was Planning Commission which coined the term Bimaru, which you will come and explain to us, because that was the time. Why did Bimaru came for Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan? Because the women there died during childbirth. It had the highest infant mortality rate, the maximum school dropouts. Even today, 30% girls drop out when they reach the middle school. Why I am upset, why I want justice for the girls in the workplace? Because I come from the state of Uttar Pradesh, and to reach this workplace, we have very few women. In the civil services, even today, there are just 21% girls in the civil services who qualify. Politics, parliament is just 11%. IMF and World Bank, these women who are here, they would be able to tell us it would be 10%, not more than that. So a woman, once she fights for survival, first you fight to be born. Feticide has killed 20 million girls in India. Then to come to the school, it is only the government schemes like midday meal, which has got 100% enrollment of girls in the school. But the moment she reaches puberty, she drops out of school because there are neither sanitation facilities, and she's supposed to look after the young children at the home, her siblings. Then she has to fight with her brother for the food, the same amount of food. She graduates. She graduates thinking that she would get a job. But when she reaches the workplace, she faces Me Too. So it's not a level playing field for us women. After that struggle, when you reach the workplace and you see the powerful men in powerful positions abusing you, harassing you, you are shattered, you are broken. And you have to be, because you have work to be there. And that is why when I was called by this university, especially SIPA, and they said Me Too and beyond. I said, what is beyond? We have not given justice to the women as yet. They have come out and spoken. That is only a minuscule. The majority are still waiting whether we will give justice to them. Only then they would come forward. The law, what does the law say? I'm a lawyer. And the moment these girls came, the character assassination started. There were counter cases filed by these powerful men, defamation. But do they know that criminal law has no limitation act? You can file a crime even after 20 years. So what is defeating the Me Too movement? It is the corruption in the police, the political interference in the systems. You are right, we are the biggest democracy, but are the institutions working in the right way? No. I would like the students of this August institution to come to India and do an audit on this. How well are the institutions working? Because till the time the reality comes, we would not get justice. Judicial reforms we talk of. I was doing an agitation on Carter Road, if you know Mumbai, and at Marine Drive after the Jammu Kashmir rape of that 8-year-old child who was raped, and also the Unnao rape. We went for permissions, the police, and this is April 2017. The police said, you give me a letter saying that you will not use a loudspeaker. Where in the law is it written that if you are doing a small protest, you can't use the mic? We could not. We had hundreds, thousands of people, but since we had to speak without a mic, the event fizzled out. But I did not keep quiet. I think I quit the services and I did a study of law because I wanted the truth to come out. Day before flying out to this country, I was in the High Court with my PIL, and the PIL said that the Bombay Police Act, introduced in 1861, has a section called 37, which says that under 37, you would not let more than 5 people gather, but it should be only if it is a threat to peace and security. How can a handful of women destroy the peace and security or law and order in the country? The case had to come up in the High Court. It was number 29. I waited till 5:30 because I thought I must mention it, get the notices issued. Even in the time of Britishers, we could use the mic. But the power which was to be used sparingly, Mumbai has this section all 365 days. At 28, the bench got up because it was 5:30. I ran and I said, sir, my petition. So that is the reason, Ms. Sahay, that why judicial reforms are required. You could make it compulsory that whatever cases are listed for that day, you better finish it before you go. Because now I will wait for the next day when the date comes. So Tariq pe Tariq is responsible for not getting what is due to us. Then coming back to Me Too, there were certain powerful people who said, no, these women are defamatory. What is defamation? Speaking the truth. In fact, my message to all the women is that you are not a victim for sharing your story. You are a survivor setting the world on fire with your truth. I call them Me Too warriors. And we have to stand by them till the time we don't give them the courage and the conviction. It would remain only in paper. I think the CAG should do an audit, a safety audit. In the corporate places, we have set up an act called Sexual Prevention, Prohibition, Redressal. 2013, it is Protection of Women from Sexual Harassment at Workplace. 2013. Do the corporates, have they set it up? Does SBI have the internal complaints committee? It might have, because it is governed by the government. The government offices set up the ICC, but the corporate sector did not set up. Why? Because the act said that in case you don't have an ICC, you have to just pay a fine of 25,000. Second time, another 25,000. So you get away without setting up the ICC in 50,000 rupees. The biggest problem here is that you did not give teeth to this act. So laws are made by the parliament. They make it, but they ensure that there are loopholes and you don't get justice. The CAG is not here. Otherwise, his predecessor, who is now heading the BCCI, the biggest Me Too scandal is in BCCI. The journalists called me up and they said, we don't know what the law is because somehow there is no clarity. The act says you must have an internal complaints committee. If it is not there, then you refer it to the local complaints committee, which is set up by the district collector. BCCI had none. The BCCI immediately set up another committee. And before I flew out, I saw the committee report. It had exonerated the BCCI chairman, and it said that the complaints were fabricated, malicious. So you are being a judge in your own cause. And there's nobody to raise this issue, but I have decided when I go back, I'm going to challenge this committee because it falls nowhere in the act. So our ignorance is our biggest enemy. We make laws, but we don't percolate it to the lowest level. We are not interested in knowing what the drawbacks of the law are. Recently, last year, the WCD ministry came out with a law saying, after the rapes and all, that a juvenile who does murder or rape, any offense committed by a juvenile in the age group of 16 to 18 will be termed, if it is heinous, heinous means a punishment more than 7 years, he would be tried under an adult. This happened because the Nirbhaya law, there was a juvenile who had brutally raped her and he was the most offensive. He got saved under that law. When we were fighting a case, we were told, the judge clearly said, have you read the section? It says when the punishment is more than 7 years. How do you know I will give a punishment of 7 years and above? You know, now we have written back to the WCD ministry, kindly make it specific. Because you said up to 7 years. Make it precise that if it is rape and murder, irrespective of years of punishment, it would be tried under the IPC. There is a 44% increase of such heinous offenses committed by juveniles. So these are the issues till the time you don't tackle. We cannot talk of a judge's behavior because we'll be tried under contempt. So these are issues till the time we don't look into. I'll come, yeah. The definitions are very vast. In fact, any unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature has been defined as sexual harassment. So anything unwelcome. But there is a thin line because when the Me Too came, people said it is a vested interest. Why did she keep quiet at that time? Why did she not speak at that time? Because there was nobody to hold hands of that little girl who was either fighting in the corporate world or in the journalist world or anywhere. Nobody was there to stand by her. That is the delay, and for that we need to raise our voice. Workplace. Workplace again has been defined as very vast. Even your maidservant, she is covered by this law. She also can fight for her rights, and if she's abused, she can go to the police station. But do we have the courage to go to the police station? When you go, such questions are asked, such embarrassing questions are asked, aspersions are cast on your character that you are scared to go. The enforcement problem. The biggest problem I have is the enforcement. You know, what is the conviction rate? This is what it is. That 75% of workplace harassment victims have experienced retaliation when they speak up. So you think they will speak up? It has risen by 45%. 2 women are harassed at workplace daily. These are the figures, and in spite of we saying that we are the biggest democracy, we have put the best institutions in place. Let me tell you, that democracy, as I gave the first example, you couldn't hold an agitation. Judiciary, 4 judges came out and said that boards are being managed. We cannot speak against it because it will be contempt of court. So what is necessity is transparency. Taking a case to a logical conclusion. What is the conviction rate? You know, this, I want to show you the conviction rate. I think it, you know, I remember in the cases of rape, it's 18% conviction, and for molestation, there was a study of Bengaluru where 4,000 cases were taken up. The conviction was barely 0.37%. And these are government figures, NCRB figures. Get the harshest law. You talked of death penalty for Nirbhaya rapists. Have they been hanged? The petition, the mercy petition, is lying with the President of India. There is no time limit. Prescribe a time limit that you have to decide it within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Because when you don't connect the crime with the punishment, the impact is lost. The Nirbhaya rapists are still in Tihar. And maybe after 10 years, the Supreme Court would say, leave them free, like in other cases, because they've been in the jail for too long. So you get death penalty, but you don't execute it. I hold the people in position responsible. Because when you make a law, you know the drawbacks. And I call it a lawyer's delight, because there are so many loopholes. That Supreme Court is an example where lawyers are earning crores a month. In fact, now I'm told there are certain lawyers who earn a crore a day. You know, so I think all of you do law rather than finance. You know, because that's the truth it is. But there are two cases which I would like to talk about, these two cases. Renova Mukherjee versus Vodafone SR Private Limited. This case was a clear-cut case of Me Too. But this girl, she sent a letter to the resource department that I have been sexually harassed. She resigned. That's one more thing. When you raise an issue, you are either terminated or you resign. You never continue in that organization, sir. You are here. You please help the women. I mean, such powerful men are sitting here. Go back to the country. Mr. Ahluwalia, I'm looking at you only because we have grown up, we have grown up reading about what you've done for the country. And I think your voices matter. That a woman, when she complains, even it happened in the Terry case, the victim left the organization. Why do these women have to leave the organization? If you can protect them, your Me Too would definitely bear some fruit. In fact, such was the pressure on this woman who had received the letter, the Human Resource Department, that she said, I did not receive this letter. And that is how you can say it is malicious, it is fabricated, because ultimately, when we come to the workplace after such great difficulties, we want our jobs. We want job protection, which is not there. And what did the High Court say? She wanted compensation. But the High Court rejected it. They said, unless an employee's case for sexual harassment is established, she can't claim violation of fundamental rights. And when the conviction rate is so poor, when you don't have the ICC, how do you get justice? The law has come, but you did not put the compliances in place. You just said 50,000 if the ICC is not there. But I would still say that judiciary is still helping people out. I have hope, even now, after all the controversy, that the Supreme Court is going to do something. You know? Yeah, this case I want to talk of. This was Gayatri Balasubramaniam versus Novasoft. She filed a complaint. She came at a very high level. You know, she came at a very high level. This is Renuka. Yeah, continued. I'll just finish this. Gayatri Balaswamy versus Novasoft Technologies. She came at a very high level. She complained. You see the dates? She put a complaint. She was appointed on 27/4/2006. The moment she complained, in 3 months she had to resign. You know, she lodged a complaint on the date, if you see. And what happened? They both went to the Supreme Court. Number one, if you file a Me Too complaint, please ensure that you have money to fight your case. The company will fight for the person who has abused you, assaulted you, but you as a complainant get no support. Our system, we say we provide legal aid, but it is in shambles. So this lady, Gayatri, she had 12 sections where she asked for compensation. The arbitration here, this is one case which would go a long way, and that is why I'm quoting it here, that maybe through this, through this institution and this talk, the women all over, I can't approach everyone, but I want to tell all the people who've complained that fight it out, go to the Supreme Court, because this case, and refer to this case, this is the only case where this woman was given compensation. And what were the reasons? She said that I was terminated wrongly. 5 years the litigation went on. So my employability got lost. My job opportunities got lost. But in arbitration, on this section, she did not get compensation. As a protest, she went to the Supreme Court. And just for this point, that there was no internal complaints committee. The court said, had the company set up an internal complaints committee, all this litigation would have not happened. The 5 years which this woman lost running to courts might not have happened had the internal complaints committee be there, and Supreme Court gave her an additional compensation of 1.68 crores. I mean, I've put it in dollars also for you, that you know how much was the compensation. You know, the arbitration was modified. The Supreme Court modified the arbitration. So, but how many of us can reach the Supreme Court? As I said, the lawyers there charge a bomb. The time taken is, at hers, I would say she's lucky, it's 5 years. It may take 10 years, 15 years. So you need to set up a time frame. India, the first thing India needs is judicial reforms. Everything is secondary. Till the time you don't have judicial reforms. I was fighting with the SIPA organizers. I said, it may be an economic summit, but without gender justice, without setting compliances, your economy is not going to grow. You have to give women the safety, security in the workplace. We need 50% of women in the organizations. But today, again, we are stuck up at 20 because we have really scared a lot of women who have lost courage to come out at work because the parents feel, oh, it was better off that they were at home. At least in the workplace, the issues, they have really scared parents. So, what I told you earlier, this is $700 is the only punishment if you don't have an internal complaints committee. Sir, please, I mean, even the students here, why don't you come to India? Do a research on this. Do a research on POSH. You are going to join the corporate. At least make the corporate sector safe for you. Do this paper, because when I was aghast that here we are talking, so what a nice name we've given, protection of women from sexual harassment, POSH. We thought it's really posh, but there's nothing posh about it. This is some of the work which I am doing, but before I end, I would like to tell you one important issue which the Supreme Court said, that there is something called vicarious liability. If the head of the corporate, the employee, the employer does not set up an internal complaints committee, he can be held responsible. Because Novosoft tried to get out, saying, fine, it's not something very great, but the Supreme Court said no. That compensation which it gave, and it said that vicarious liability of the head of the organization will be invoked if the ICC is not there. So need of the hour is that we set up the internal complaints committee. Need of the hour is that the cases are taken to the logical conclusion, because if you just malign a woman, in fact, the Supreme Court even said that public policy, the two main tenets of public policy is morality and justice. And when a woman complains of sexual harassment, it will be presumed that she has faced emotional and physical abuse. She doesn't have to prove that. So that is why this case is a landmark which needs to be taken up by everyone who is fighting for Me Too. You know, we do a lot of TV debates, we work a lot on these issues, but end of the day, it is the bureaucrats, it is the people in positions who decide. So now with such important people sitting here, my request is that let us put our mind and might to make our women safe. I would And we cannot be silent. If these women do not get justice, they will become silent. They've had the courage to speak out. They can't be targeted. They have to be given protection. And I would like to quote here Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And what really matters is we make our women safe. What really matters is that conviction has to be 100%. How can conviction rate, these are NCRB figures, when it says 18% for rape, 3 to 4% for molestation, it's normal. When the parliament was getting the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, one of the MPs there said, "Oh, it will spoil romance. We chase women." You know, they thought stalking is not a crime. They don't know that maximum acid attack happen, it starts with stalking. UP has the highest number of acid attack cases. Farai sitting here, she works on UP issues. We know how things are. And I want the Bimaru tag to go. Because even today, if you have that tags, it demotivates. Today somebody forwarded me on WhatsApp and it said, do you know what is the Hindi version of from frying pan into fire? UP's boundary is finished, Bihar is starting. So, you know, I think it's time. And women, I come from Uttar Pradesh, I walked the hard way. We women are made to always, we are reminded of our duties, of our culture, our values. While the predator man, he thinks that the stigma will keep us quiet. Justice Verma, when he was deciding the report after Nirbhaya, Justice Verma said, I would like women not to treat sexual offenses as a stigma, not to be scared. Treat any offense against you as a crime. And I think that is what is seen in Me Too movement, where women have come forward and they said, it is not something to be ashamed of. It is the predator who should be ashamed of. And let me tell you, you have given sleepless nights to these men, because every day they are scared, at least in Mumbai, who is going to be dropped from their work. But what is important? That punishment needs to be given. For that, the police system, the police needs to be made accountable. FIRs are not being registered. Just asking you to step down does not absolve you of the crime under the IPC. So if people are saying that this person has stepped down, this person has been removed, the crime continues. The IPC is very clear that if you've committed a crime, you have to go behind bars. And this is not the liquor bar, this is the jail. And these people who are the role models for the country, some of them were till Me Too happened, they should be behind bars. And for that, it has to be a public movement, it has to be an accountability, and it has to be the women of this country who are not going to be silenced. You have to raise your voices because you have to make your future generation safe. Thank you.
We have time for 2 questions, probably 5 minutes. Please identify yourself before you ask the question.
Good morning, ma'am. Myself, Shivam Goswami from MIT University, India. I'm also from Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad, Prayagraj. With all due respect, I respect each and every woman out here. But my question is, what is your comment on false Me Too complaints as women are filling false harassment complaining purpose? False harassment complaint and as using it as a tool as blackmailing purpose. For example, remember Jasleen Kaur case, Delhi case. Accused Sarvajit Singh talks about how false complaint which ruin men's lives in India. So how to set up investigation against these type of cases? Thank you.
You know, the law is very clear. If you file a false case, I have been the first one, most vocal on all the channels. I said, you go file a false case against that woman who's done it. Let me tell you, it is a very nice way of saying that women are misusing the law. It is the patriarchal mindset, because in 498A also. I'll come to your point. Supreme Court came out and said there'll be no arrest will be made under 498A because the law is being misused. And now the Supreme Court is saying we are ready to go back into it, and we feel that somewhere we took a decision in haste. You know, even if misuse will be 2%, not more than 2%, I can challenge. And for that 2%, you cannot take away the merits of the case. I mean, it was a woman who was burned for dowry. Even today, there are 21 dowry deaths in India in 24 hours. You know, every half an hour, by the time we finish, two women would have died. And the reason mentioned in the FIR is kitchen fire. Where do women die of kitchen fire? Anywhere in the world? Only in India. So to say that one case and you say women are misusing the law, I don't agree with it. What about the women who are being burnt? What about the women who are being raped? This is just a way to divert the issue. I don't agree that laws are being misused, and if it is being misused, it is the corrupt police which takes money and falls a wrong case, not the woman.
Second question. We had a question.
What about? It's a difficult thing to say. If there's a complaint on women, what about the other side of it? No. First address the primary thing which Abha is saying. Then we can talk about what about the other side of it.
Thank you. Thank you. The second question.